You are now listening to a 302 Birds podcast experience, proudly powered by Tick Pick, Cutbet, El Diablo Burritos, Nick's Pizza, and Klondike Kate's on the heart of Main Street.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of 302 Birds. It's a do or die week for our Philadelphia Eagles, to say the least. I mean, it has been an awful 2 weeks for us. 2 ass whoopings, to say the least. But we got a jam-packed show for you guys, as always. We're going to break down everything Philadelphia Eagles and that much more. And maybe at the end of the show, a silver lining in some of these ass whoopings. But we do have a call-in on the show tonight, a very fun one for sure. In my opinion, I do want to welcome to the show my girlfriend, Alyssa, who had to come on the show tonight because she was so passionate about someone named Patrick Mahomes and something that he had to say that she actually requested to come on the podcast tonight. So I do want to welcome Alyssa to the show and thank her for coming on tonight. But, I mean, Mahomes, crybaby, break it down for me. What's your thoughts on this guy getting handed everything and then crying about it?
I mean, it's unacceptable the way he acted. It's embarrassing. I mean, this is the Super Bowl MVP, supposedly the best quarterback in the league. And then he goes and acts like that. I mean, I'm sorry, Jalen Hurts would never. I have a bad feeling about Pat Mahomes all the time. And everyone says he's a great guy. I just don't buy it. I don't know. I don't buy it. For some reason, I've always seen this in him. I feel like he's a really sore loser and he's entitled, and he showed us all that. He exhibited that. I've never been a Pat Mahomes fan, especially since the Super Bowl, obviously. But the fact that this man is holding that title of Super Bowl MVP and players are looking up to him, like high school players, middle school players, elementary school players, think that Pat Mahomes is the best in the game and they look up to him and then he acts like that. I just think it's unacceptable and there will be no repercussions for it. You know, I heard he has apologized, which is whatever. I don't know if I buy that. It'll probably happen again. But I don't know. I just think it was unacceptable to cry like that and to treat Josh Allen the way he did. Like, Josh Allen didn't tell the refs to make that call. Like, it was just such a baby sore loser. And I get it. I'd be embarrassed too if I lost in front of Taylor Swift. I don't know. That is embarrassing, but I still don't think it warrants that reaction. And it was just, I think, shocking to see from someone who is the best in the league and a Super Bowl MVP. When we look at the other options, Jalen Hurts would never, ever act like that. And I think that's why I got my blood boiling.
Got my blood boiling too. And you know what gets my taste buds boiling?
What do I want when I'm in the state of Delaware? Of course, El Diablo Burritos. Customer service always is serving your food with a smile on their face, asking how your day is, but their food is phenomenal as well. Their burritos are out of this world, one of the best burritos in town. Their queso is phenomenal. Their burrito bowls are amazing as well. When you're in and around Delaware, stop by your local El Diablo Burritos and tell them that 302 Birds sent you. God bless. Go Birds.
Thank you to El Diablo Burritos for that sponsorship. And I learned a new word, taste buds. Thank you, Dalton, for that.
That was from Kendrick Lamar's song, and that was the alcohol speaking. But
but tonight's show, we have Will O'Connor. Bring him on in.
What's good, guys?
What's up, Will? Good. How are you, buddy?
Good, man. It's great to be here.
Great to see you, buddy. You have any questions for us you want to bring to the table?
I've been thinking a lot the last few days about the coordinator situation. I mean, like I saw a post thinking if the Eagles were to bring back Frank Reich, I thought would be a really good idea because, I mean, obviously, like Jalen Hurts and Brian Johnson have a good relationship, but since it's not, escalating to that like firepower we had last year, like it's like something's got to change, like, and someone's feelings has got to get hurt. So that's it.
Yeah, I mean, our coordinators are, I guess, the equivalent of garbage right now. But I think when you're looking at the struggles, you got to look at the players as well. There was 4 drives last game that we turned over the ball to the Cowboys.
Yeah, it's
and that
unacceptable.
can't happen when your defense is not stopping them. And of course, that goes back on the coordinator. But I mean, the turnovers just can't happen. I mean, that's if you look at it, it's a possibility that on those 4 possessions we score 4 touchdowns. That's 28 points plus the points that we already had that game. So it's yes, the play calling's terrible. I mean, what are these bubble screens on 3rd and 7? It just doesn't make sense to me. We're not running the ball. It's awful. I don't know. I think you got to look at the coordinators, but you also have to look at the players as well.
Yeah, it's a great point. Like we had so many promising drives where we can like potentially go into score, and then either a fumble or whatnot, then we're just giving it right back to them. It's just wearing out the defense. Like I think the defense was on the field like 40 plus minutes, which cannot happen.
Yeah, especially after a 49ers game where they're also on the field for 40 plus minutes, a Bills game where they're on the field 40 plus minutes. I just think they're tired. And, this week coming up is huge, having 7 days off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
like
I think
my hopes got up a little bit when like Jalen Carter had the scoop and score, thinking like, okay, now it's going to roll. But then it's just like, it's not our night again.
Yeah, the coordinator situation is definitely something to keep an eye on. I feel like the 49ers game, that was lost because of coaching issues.
Absolutely.
Cowboys game, that was lost based off of player issues. Players were not playing well, and that was, in my opinion, much less on the coaching than it was in the 49ers game.
And then going off of that real quick, sorry. Malata even said that. He even gave credit to Brian Johnson and said that Brian Johnson spoke to the team and was accountable and was like, all right, like I've been the issue. It's on me. And like basically after that, the play calling got better in the Dallas game. They gave credit to Brian Johnson, but you have 3 turnovers. How are you going to win a game with 3 turnovers? I mean, you can't do that. So I don't know if I would have given all the credit in the world to Brian Johnson last week because it wasn't like it was like a 2-touchdown game, but I do hear their argument with 3 turnovers. That's on the players, like you said, Ash. Will, real quick, while we have you on here too, that Eagles Christmas album, I know you have been jamming out to it. You actually got the vinyl edition, right?
Every fucking day. I got them both. I got last year and this year's.
So what's that new one like in comparison to the old one?
So this one was like, like we first heard it, like, man, these guys sound really good. Like they had of course the White Christmas, the Night Before Christmas was sung by Mel Reese. Silent Night, I love the EAGLES. And then Santa Claus is Coming to Town. It's like a real Springsteen. But I've been collecting records for about 10 years now. And 2 things I always look for is the artwork and also if the vinyls are a special color, which both of these are. You see this one's like a translucent green.
Yeah, Kelly Green.
Yeah. And then I think the new one blew last year's out of the water because they like definitely stepped up with like I won't say like choreography, but also the like kind of like the tone and the beat. Again, a lot of great ones on here. Dominic the Donkey, I was just cracking up every day when I was listening to it. Fairy Tale Philadelphia, I love it. It's got that Irish folk song like feel to it with the 2 brothers, Jason and
Travis.
Jason and Travis, thank you. And then one thing I really liked was the dreidel song. Like if you listen to the vinyl itself, they have like commentary on it, and they'll say like, the Christmas is great, but you should really include the Jewish community. And they mentioned Laurie and Roseman are both Jewish, so they sang the dreidel song, and Howie actually sings on it, which I thought was great that they included him. And then this one here is red, but it's not translucent. It's just a solid red, which is great. But if you guys haven't watched the Philly special, Christmas special on YouTube, you're missing out.
Oh, it's great.
It is so great. It's so funny. I just love it's like the snappy like back and forth. It's like,
I think I know.
and
what
then
I'm
it's
doing
like
after the
this
podcast,
but this sleeve is like kind of themed after the show. You see on the front, you kind of got the two guys or the three guys, and then it's kind of like the first one, and then on the back they got the audience, the song list, and I ordered this like the day it was released, so it went on sale at 9:00, and I was checked out by 9:01.
Wow.
But I got an email like around Thanksgiving, like it was like they're like so overwhelmed with ordering, it might take a little while, but I did get the this year's vinyl, the puzzle, and as well as the single, which has Santa's Night and Dominic the Donkey, and the inner sleeve has Jason's lyrics, which he wrote, and this one is colored as well along with the record.
How about that? Freaking beautiful.
So it's one of those things. Like I know, like the big thing last year for the playoffs was it's a Philly thing. I think it just carries on long before and long onwards. Like we're not seeing many other offensive linemen doing this, which is I think it's just great. They're including the community, which also all the proceeds to all their sales go to benefit the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. So like they are about like 75 each if they're still available, but it's for a great cause.
Real quick,
yeah.
Eagles fans need to chill out. I saw somebody said to Mailata something about like, oh, you need to block better and stop making Christmas albums. So
yeah, like it was like in the 80s, the Bears had the Super Bowl shuffle.
Yeah.
And they had like so much stuff going on, like all the endorsements, like they still went on to, dominate the whole season and win the Super Bowl. But like I think like bringing light to like the fans and also like again like supporting the community with the proceeds of the record sales it's a great thing.
Absolutely. 100%.
Awesome.
Well, Will, I want to thank you for jumping on here with us tonight and tailgating with us for a long time now at home
Absolutely.
and at the link. This man has came to Delaware to hang out with us before. He's that true of a fan. And I know that when somebody got the Christmas album and we had to talk about it, it had to be you. So thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for honestly bringing both albums too. That was pretty cool to see the presentation and the contrast of both the vinyls. Thank you, sir.
Of course.
Salud.
Salud.
Have a good one.
Peace.
And I want to thank our boy, Ali, for coming on from the Winging It podcast. My man was in Dallas this week for that heartbreak. I wanted to touch on that real quick with some week 14 takeaways and starting it off with the man. I mean, what was that like traveling down there to Jerry's world?
Ugh.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, thank you guys so much for asking us to come on. So what was it like to travel down to Jerry World? Frankly, this was my second time going down to Dallas. I was there last year during the Christmas Eve game. And it was fairly similar, right? It was, the Cowboys fans were a little timid every time we would chat with them, right? Leading up to the game, Cowboys fans, we talked to them and be like, what do you think about this upcoming game? And they'd be like, well, if it was in Philly, we'd be a little worried, but I think we're going to be able to eke this one out. But honestly, I don't think anyone expected what happened to transpire down there at Jerry World. I think the banter was really fun going into the stadium, walking around the stadium and kind of like talking trash to a bunch of the Cowboys fans. But the walk back to the car was one of the most awful experiences, just like the chirping. And as soon as we turn to them and be like, congratulations on winning your Super Bowl, good luck against the 49ers before you get trounced, it was like this avalanche of people that would just start screaming like, F you, get the F out of here, you piece of F. And you know what I mean? Like, we had just gotten destroyed 33-13. Like, we didn't have a leg to stand on. It was just mostly like us just talking trash just to get a rise out of them. honestly, it was a really fun experience.
Yeah, that stadium's beautiful. I mean, I haven't been there yet, but I've heard good things about it. Other than that, it's this Cowboys stadium. I heard it's a beautiful stadium. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, honestly, it's aside from the link, I would say AT&T Stadium is one of the most impressive stadiums that I've ever been to. I think Houston has the biggest screen, like the biggest jumbotron, but obviously Dallas has the biggest suspended jumbotron that exists out there. The stadium itself is like a landmark, honestly. Like if you're flying at 30,000 feet in the air, like I'm sure it would be very difficult to like miss it from the air. It is just a massive structure. As you're walking up to it, as you're walking by it, essentially your tickets basically tell you which gates that you have to enter through so that they can just like funnel traffic, because it is just that massive, right? Like I remember when we walked down to the the 100 level just to get some pictures before the game started. I remember looking up at looking to my fellow co-host Alex on the Winging It podcast. And I looked up at the 400 level all the way up to the nosebleeds, and I was like, can you make out any of those people that are sitting up there? And he was like, no, I can't, right? Like they all just look like blobs because of how high up they were in the air. Honestly, it would have been like I would not be surprised if like clouds started forming at that level just because of how high it was.
Allie, did you get a chance to tour the stadium?
No, I didn't get a chance to tour the stadium. Honestly, like for me, it's kind of a balance. I don't want to give Jerry Jones any more of my money than I have to. So I'm there not to enjoy the Cowboys experience. I'm there to watch the Eagles and talk trash to Cowboys fans.
Yeah, I toured it back in 2017 and I spit on the star.
Yes.
Good for you. Good for you.
Jerry gets too much camera attention for you to spend more money on him. He gets too much camera attention. That's the least thing he needs. So
I agree.
Allie, what takeaways do you have from that game? Like, was it as bad as it looked on TV as it did in person?
I would say it looked pretty bad. I haven't watched the replay. I don't have the heart to watch the replay of the game. But it looked pretty bad from where we were sitting. I think there was a play that it was like a 3rd and 17.
Ugh.
And the woman next to us, nicest lady in the world, by the way, woman next to us, she's like, why are you guys so worried? It's 3rd and 17. And we were like, no, you don't understand. We have the worst 3rd down defense in the NFL. You guys are likely to convert this. And in fact, they did, because I think that was the pass interference play on Slay. From our perspective, it was just frustrating. It was anger provoking at the play calling, at the fact that our defense could not get off the field no matter how hard they tried. And it just seemed like we didn't belong on that field. And it got to a point where, we were sitting at we actually had really, really good seats, like a really good vantage point, like that AJ Brown drop where he was like in the red zone and the ball basically like landed in his lap. It happened right in front of us. But as soon like right after the first tush push that we got, we turned around to the standing room only people behind us and we were like, yeah, we can't score, but we can get 1 yard really good. And they all started laughing. But honestly, it was just kind of embarrassing to be in that stadium and watch my team, a team that I expected so much out of going into that game, just to not show up like that.
I think embarrassing is 100% the right word. What were you saying, Matt? Sorry.
I was just saying with how big of a game it was, and they just didn't show up. And that's what concerns me the most is about this team is like, you go in knowing it's a must win. You win that, you clinch the division, you practically clinch the division. I think it was 99% or something. And they drop an egg. And it's just like, no, I don't know. There's a lot that I have to say about this game, but I don't want to take up all the time.
I'd also like to say you can't fumble 3 times in a football game. You're not going to win. Simple as that. Yeah, you just can't fumble the ball. They need to figure out. And that's another thing is like the Eagles, they always go over security of the ball, and it's one of their biggest things in their locker room that they go over. And I don't understand why it's happening at this moment in time. And the drop passes, like, it just doesn't make sense to me because you have two really like top receivers in the NFL, and you can't score. I didn't really watch most of the game because I was at a concert, unfortunately, but good thing I didn't watch the game because they got blown out.
You didn't miss much.
Maybe if you would have watched it, it would have went a little bit better because I was listening to the podcast today, and what you said last week that you didn't go to the game, they got shit on by the 49ers. So maybe it's the Big Sean effect. So when Big Sean isn't watching or focused on the game or engaged as he is, the Eagles don't play well. So this week, Big Sean,
Come on, Sean.
we're flying you out to Seattle on the podcast time.
Well. I will say. I did have it on my phone at the concert before he came on, and right as I was watching Jalen Hurts fumbled, so then I just turned it off from there. So I have a point to not watch the game. It was right when Jalen Hurts fumbled the ball, and I was like, yeah, this is gonna get nasty. Because they couldn't score. They could not score. It was horrible.
Our defense scored our offense. So
and not only that, but you didn't have any offensive touchdowns. Ridiculous. It was just one to just put in the trash can and let go. But yeah, I mean, you need to win these four games. If you win the 4 games, then you win the division.
I mean, do you think that even if we win these 4 games, like, we actually deserve to win the division? To me, it doesn't feel like we have played sound football, specifically on the defensive side. If you look at all major defensive stats, we are at the bottom or near the bottom in every major category. And it's a serious flaw in our defense, knowing that if our front 4, which is the strength of the entire defense, if they don't get home, our secondary has been shown to be vulnerable. Our linebacker core has shown to be vulnerable, and that was on full display 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
I think it depends on how the next couple weeks go. I think regardless, we have to win out. Like, that's end of conversation. However, we could pull it together. We could. The last 2 weeks were terrible, horrible. Didn't want to watch the game really at all after the first quarter on Sunday. But I think there is some way that we could probably pull this together and then be able to say at the end of the day, we deserve to win this division. I think it's just too early to tell. We have too many weeks of football left still.
Yeah, I'd also like to say, like what you were saying, I do think they deserve it because the playoffs are just a whole different type of football. And so I think that they deserve it. But I was talking to somebody and they were like, well, what if they just drop these 2 games on purpose to try to get into a position where they would be up against the 6 seed instead of playing the 1 or the 2? Because right now the 2 spot is honestly better than the 1 spot because you got to play the hard teams. So I'm wondering if they're just trying to like make it sound like they're just doing horrible and they just wanted to drop these. I mean, they were obviously trying, but yeah, it's just, I don't know. I mean, it's a conspiracy theory, I guess. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I also think that we deserve the division. I mean, we have against teams above 500, we are 5-2, which is the best record in the NFL. So it's, yes, we have 2 really bad losses, but we've also beaten teams above 500 5 times, which is greater than any other team in the NFL. Strength of schedule compared to the teams that are 10-3, we have a significantly harder schedule than they've played. So, I mean, yes, it sucked the past 2 weeks, but you gotta have confidence in the team that's 10-3 that have beaten really good teams this season. It's not like, you know, they've just scratched their way through a season and, you know, they've had a very tough schedule. Not even just looking at teams, but looking at, you know, the placement of these teams that they're playing. It came back to back to back to back. Like, it's just like we said at the beginning of the year, it's a gauntlet. And like, we knew getting out of this gauntlet 5-2, like that's like all we were hoping for at the beginning of the year. Like, we're doing a lot better than we were anticipating. Yes, it's not as pretty as we would hope, but we're still winning games. And we'll just had a skid. The Cowboys had a 3-game skid. The 49ers had a 3-game skid. It happens. It's a long football season. So I'm still confident. If we lose to the Seahawks, I may have a different opinion. But I don't think that we don't deserve to win the NFC.
Yeah, it's definitely was brutal stretch of 2 games. 2 very important games. Probably that. Those 2 games and the Chiefs are the ones we circled on the calendar. And it just sucks because the Eagles in the locker room after the Niners, especially A.J. Brown, we were so they were so cocky about, we got blown out by the Niners, but they're like, you know what? Just wait till you see the product we have Sunday night. And they let everybody down. The turnovers was awful. Our offense was terrible. But I have a Jalen Hurts quote. He doesn't really seem to get let losing his mind and get in the way, and that's all he thinks about. No, he thinks about he's going to look at our schedule against Seattle, Giants, and Cardinals. Hurts said in the past, you take a deuce, you don't sit there and look at it, you flush it and you move on. So that's what you do. That's you just got to control what you can and win these next 4 games.
So, I mean, the conversation around Seattle, listen, we haven't won in Seattle in 15 years. Even the year that Carson Wentz was on his MVP run, our Super Bowl season, we played in Seattle. Carson Wentz played in Seattle, and we lost that game. I used to live out there. I've been to that stadium. It is not an easy place to play, just because of how loud it gets. And truly, when you talk about the crowd impact, I think that crowd is going to have an impact on our play calling. It's going to have an impact on our rhythm on offense. And honestly, when I think about the last couple of games, I'm not saying it's complete doom and gloom, right? This is why I love football so much, because it is such a week-to-week narrative where 1 week you're on top and 2 weeks later you're the 5th seed in the NFC, potentially, under threat that you're not even going to make the playoffs, right? And this is why I love football so much. It's because you can literally write your own narrative from week to week. So one of the things that I appreciate about this team is that they have gone through adversity in 2021, and they were able to muster up whatever they could and get back to a level of play where they felt confident going into the playoffs. Now, granted, we got trounced by Tom Brady and the Buccaneers in that first round, but it was enough of that confidence booster to be able to say, you know what? Yeah, we do belong here. Last year, obviously, we didn't face a lot of adversity, and that proved to be a detriment for us when we got to the Super Bowl. But this year, what I was truly hoping for was this adversity to, we've heard throughout this entire season, the Eagles are still looking for their identity. What's their identity? Last year, they're a really good running football team. Is it this year? Is it, are we a good running football team this year? Frankly, I'd say we're just choosing to not run the football this year. What are we this year? And what is our response going to be after facing 2 weeks where we basically become the laughing stock of the NFL? Not saying we are the laughing stock. It is just such a significantly high fall from grace that I would expect that, we're either going to fold from the pressure and it's going to take us for the rest of the season and we're not going to be able to respond, or we're going to have a stellar game against Seattle and then hopefully close it out against the Giants, Cardinals, and the Giants again.
Yeah, I mean, well said. I think this season of all seasons, it's any given Sunday. So no matter the history we have in Seattle or what, I mean, I think we can, if we have a complete game, a full complete game, which we haven't. The closest complete game we had was probably the Dolphins. But if we have a complete game against the Seahawks, and Geno Smith's not the quarterback, and we can lock down Metcalf, I think we will be able to win. I'm not too pressed at all. I mean, guys, we're 10-3. Granted, we had 2 ugly losses back to back, but I think we'll be fine.
Allie, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Where can we find you?
So we're on Instagram and TikTok at wingin.it.pod. It's on the name right there. We're also on YouTube, Wingin' It, an Eagles podcast. And you can also find our audio versions of our long form podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Just look up Wingin' It or Wingin' It, an Eagles podcast, and you should be able to find us there as well.
Awesome. Thanks so much again, man.
Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Perfect. On to our next segment. It's been chaos at the coordinator positions. I wish Ashley could be here. She just had to tune out for you guys listening on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, but it's been chaos to say the least at the defensive and offensive coordinator, both respectively. I got a lot to say. I even took notes on this for this week's podcast. Oh shit, I'm dropping my notebook. Anyway,
you're going to be factual for once.
Matt's cracking up over there because he knows I had like a couple glasses of wine. So he's laughing his ass off over there. But
I know you're plastered off of just one glass.
All right, Tom. All right. Anyway, Nick Sirianni's being too controlling. This is where the rant starts, all right? He said in his press conference that he's not considering any changes at either the defensive or offensive coordinator position. Okay, that's fair. That's fine. You know why? Because it's like, fucking whatever, 12 or 13 weeks into the season makes sense. However, I found this interesting. So last year, a lot of people don't remember, Sirianni was one of the few people that lobbied for Jack's boy, Jonathan Gannon, to stay in Philadelphia. Now Sirianni's saying that he wanted Desai and he's lobbying for Desai. Okay, makes sense. Stand by your defensive coordinator. Here's the problem for Desai, though. All right, Howie and this defensive, room, and really this front office, I should say, have really relied on the front seven getting home every play. Hence, drafting 2 defensive tackles in the past 2 years. That's unheard of for other NFL teams, but we're the Eagles. We do that. It's Jalen Carter, it's Jordan Davis, right? Well, I think now we're starting to see some of the flaws maybe in that. I'm not saying that it's a bad thing. Both those guys are great. You can get great trade value for them too, which makes sense. But Slay and Bradbury, unfortunately, aren't it. Unless they're 7 to 10 yards off the ball, they're going to get burnt. And unfortunately, when you're 7 to 10 yards off the ball, you're going to give up a slant every play. So like I said, unless the front seven isn't getting home, there's really not much to do. And hitting it home, Sirianni says that there's nothing he's going to do about it. I just think that that's a cop-out in my opinion. I don't like that. I would at least address the situation. I think it's kind of been dancing around the problem this year for the coaches. And I think at some point it's almost time to hold them accountable, in my opinion.
So the way that I look at it, you're saying that, Bradbury and Slay are having kind of down years, and it certainly does seem like that. But looking at the stats that they've put up actually against the Cowboys and the 49ers, they've had really good games compared to, say, Eli Ricks or Kevin Byard or Nicholas Morrow in the middle. It's not. They're not targeting Bradbury and Slay. They're targeting the weak links of our defense. And that's why we need a better defensive coordinator to scheme up different looks as to having Slay on CeeDee Lamb all the time and having Bradbury on, say, Brandon Cooks all the time. But we're not doing that. We're letting Eli Ricks and I think I saw Ringo in there. Like, we're letting our rookies go up against these teams' best wide receivers and best, playmakers. And that's why we're getting screwed. If Slay and Bradbury were playing on the number 1 and number 2 wide receivers all of the time, we would look so much better on defense. I really do think so.
This is another thing that I would like to say that nobody has brought up. And it's Sean Desai, his former team. He ran that fucking defense. He ran Sean's defense. So, I mean, he might have some tricks up the sleeve. He might be able to read some different things like what they run, and if he recognizes something, then he's going to translate it to the offense to target that defense. I mean, I feel like they definitely didn't change everything, so they have to have something in the book that he did draw up basically. So that's another thing that I feel like will help him out in the long run against the Seattle Seahawks. But every point that Dalton made was nail on the head. I don't have anything else to say.
And then, yeah, obviously, like you said, that can definitely help us against Seattle. And we don't know if Geno or Drew Lock's going to play, but like we said, Sean Desai was there last year. Both of those quarterbacks were the quarterbacks of the team, the 1 and 2 string. So I think that's definitely an advantage in a must-win game. But Seattle's definitely not an easy place to win at, and the Eagles are 3.5-point favorite right now. But that's with everybody thinking that Geno Smith will play, and Geno's definitely clearly an advantage over Drew Lock. So.
I actually have a question for my guy, Ballpark Tommy. So one thing that goes hand in hand with baseball and football, Tom, is leadership. This locker room, it almost feels like, at least in my opinion, is lacking some leadership. Do you think that there's certain guys that could be doing more in the locker room? What are your thoughts on this?
In today's environment, it's a very media-centric environment. Like, look at what Jason Kelsey has. Like, stuff's going to leak. Stuff's going to whatever. I don't think it's as bad as 2020, where, like, it seemed like every week it was Carson versus the locker room. Like, it's not that bad. People are frustrated after 2 horrific games. One that can almost be completely blamed on Sean Desai not being not adjusting. The other one, you almost have to give him his roses because he had to figure out how to play defense pretty much for 60 minutes. And then the other one, you have fumbling issues, and you have Brian Johnson that finally figured out what emotion is against Dallas, 32nd in the league, running a high school offense. So, like, I get it. I don't think there really is a lot more that can be done or can, like, other than like Brandon Graham got asked about on WIP yesterday. Hey, and he looked like, and his tone, I shouldn't say his look, because obviously you can't see it through it. His tone changed a lot. All of a sudden he like got real angry with like Joe DeCamara on the morning show, and it's like, oh, like normally we're used to happy peppy BG, and all of a sudden he gets asked about the locker room, and he's not too happy. He's ready to he's ready to kick some ass and take some names with it at the same time. Like, he doesn't want to put up. So I think it's going to be addressed. I'm not too worried about it. Whatnot. It is what it is.
Do you guys want to see more from Jalen Hurts? You know, we always see him on the sidelines, and he's just kind of sitting in silence. They're getting their ass kicked, and he's just sitting in silence. We love him for that. We love that, you know, he's locked in. But don't you want to see him get kind of angry and get mad and try to like rile up his wide receivers? Like, is that something that we want to see, or are we kind of happy with, you know, Jalen Hurts being Jalen Hurts, just a very quiet, stick to himself on the sideline kind of guy?
I think you already have those guys on that sideline. That's what Brandon Graham's there for. That's what Fletcher Cox is kind of there for. That's what what should you call it? That's what, like, Jason Kelsey's there. Like, you have a lot of guys that just get hyped up, like, and show all their emotions. You almost need that balancing act of, okay, I need somebody who can be level-headed type of thing. That's just how it works.
I don't want
What
to.
about what happens when he leaves, though? You know what I mean? Those guys are all old, so I'm kind of hearing out, Matt. Like, and here's the thing: whether we want to admit it or not, when your quarterback speaks, the whole locker room really listens. You know what I mean? Like, no matter who you are, you could be fucking Brock Purdy, and when you're speaking, the locker room is listening, right? So I think I would want to see more about Jalen Hurts speaking up in the locker room and putting himself out there. I don't need, that fucking Cam Newton getting like into it, before the game. But, it would be nice to have a little bit of like, hey, let's go out there. And I'm sure that there's some of it that we're just not seeing. But it seemed like, and I will say this, it seemed like there was more of it at least being documented last year than there is this year. It seems like now he's kind of like, all right, locked in, like Matt said, let me go out there and play football, which good and bad. What were you saying?
I don't want to see AJ Brown yell at Hurts one more fucking time after that ball he had that Hurts threw an absolute dot into his hands, and AJ Brown just straight up dropped it, dude. That was a touchdown right there. So yeah, like you said, do we need to see more from Hurts? I mean, so I think we need to see a little less from AJ Brown if we're not going to back it up and catch that pass. That was a fucking easy touchdown right there, and that could have completely changed the momentum of the game. So.
Agreed. Hopefully some more guys start speaking up and doing a little bit more in our locker room. And with that being said, I do want to actually kick it to Jackson. Oh, wait, what's up, Sean?
I was going to say, I don't know if it's true, but I think DK Metcalf is actually suspended for this upcoming game. So I don't think I heard something. I think he's actually suspended because of the ruffle that he got in with Fred Warner. I heard that he was suspended 3 games, but I could be wrong. I don't know. I mean, I could be wrong, but if he is, that would help out the Eagles tremendously.
No, he's not. He's playing.
Oh, he is? Okay. Well, yeah, I mean, I thought he was going to get fined. He's probably going to get fined then. But, yeah, that's all I had to say.
Sean, I got to ask you something else. Moving on to our next topic. Is the season over, my man? Is it done?
No, the season is not over. They have the same record as the 49ers. They have the same record as the Dallas Cowboys. The season is not over. Now you have to we've been saying this for the last 2 weeks, must-win game. But this Seattle game is actually a must-win game. You need to set the tone for the rest of the season. And I feel like they will accomplish that and win out. Now it's important to win out because if you win out, and I know Dallas won't win out because they have Buffalo, they have Miami, they have the Lions. So they're going to drop at least 1 to 2 of those games, in my opinion. So if they drop 1, then you get another lead over the Dallas Cowboys. But if somehow they do win out, then the Eagles still win the division because they have 1 win. The Eagles lost to the Jets, which is out of conference, and the Dallas Cowboys lost in conference to the Cardinals. So therefore, no, I don't think the season is over. Even if we're at the 5 seed, the Eagles are a tough team when in the playoffs. So, but it's important for them to win this game on Monday night.
Yeah, so I want to just highlight real quick our Discord server. If you guys haven't joined it, the question of the week was what Sean just said, is the season over? So I just want to highlight some of these points. So you got our boy, I am the biggest bird, out here saying, if y'all keep playing the way y'all have, the season might be over for y'all. That might have to be the quote of the week. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate you letting us know that. Shard saying, no, it's just concerning. If we can't fix our issues, we will be first round or second round exits, basically. Not wrong. That would be extremely embarrassing after this year and last year. Colin saying, no, you delusional ass fan base, you have 10 wins. Basically, the Sean point. And then Ash, who is on our way out of here. I definitely don't think it's over, but changes need to be made. Like yesterday, in order for us to have a shot. So, I mean, these games have been, God, awful to watch. I mean, in my opinion, the season might as well be over the way that you're playing. I mean, you have on paper a top 3 roster in the NFL, and you're playing like a top 12 team right now. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. I just mean if you don't fix it, you're not going to get to the ultimate goal, which is getting a Super Bowl. I mean, nobody really cares about the MVP, Offensive Player of the Year, In Philadelphia, we care about one thing, and that's give us our parade on Broad Street, please. So my hopes and my prayers is that the season isn't over. But I mean, God, the way that they've been playing, how can we not think that, right? I mean, am I delusional for thinking that? It's been pretty god awful. Brian Johnson is really, and I think, a key component of it, or Sirianni, whoever's been doing the play calling. And then last game, that was just on the players. That was just a really, really bad game by them. But actually kicking it to oh, sorry. What's up, Matt?
I was just going to make a really probably stupid comparison, but back in 2017, when Carson Wentz went down, we had Nick Foles come in. And we thought our season was over because we were playing like absolute ass. We barely beat the Raiders. We're barely beating, Dallas the last game of the season. We were actually very, very concerned. We couldn't do anything. And then we came out in the playoffs and look at what happened. Like Sean said earlier, the playoffs is a different beast. We get in and we know that we're playing with our back against the wall. We just got to get in. So I'm probably going to get roasted for that comparison because, we were playing with a backup quarterback. But you can look at it kind of the same way. We're losing games that we feel like we should be in, and we're losing them poorly. But they just got to figure it out. And, when they do, we're going to be like, all right, the Eagles are the best team in the NFL, because that's the kind of fan base that we are. So, we just got to go out there Monday, take care of business, and we're going to be back on track.
I'd also like to say something real quick. I will be showing my MVP for Monday night. We got the blood pressure thing. This is my MVP for Monday night. This will be on my arms at all times because it's not an Eagles game without a little high blood pressure.
That's great, man. I love that. And now kicking it to actually Jackson for the question.
Time for everybody's favorite part of the show, 302 Trivia, with your host, Jack Dordan, the mayor of Delaware.
Thank you to Tick Pick for that sponsorship. Tonight's question we have for you is, what Philadelphia Eagle was named NFL MVP in 1960? What Philadelphia Eagle was named NFL MVP in 1960? A. Chuck Benderek, B. Sonny Jurgensen, C. Mike Ditka, D. Norm Van Brocklin. We will give the answer towards the end, Joe.
Who the fuck are any of those players? I have never heard of any of them.
Ditka?
I heard of all of them.
You've heard of Ditka. You know Ditka.
Yes. They're all from like the 50s and 60s. So if you're a true diehard Eagles fan, you'll know all of them.
Yeah, no, sorry, I don't.
It was about the last time the Cowboys were in the NFC Championship around then.
Decker with the shots fired, even though we got our ass kicked this week. But I love that energy because that's the Philadelphia Eagles fan energy. Hopefully, we kick their ass and we see them again in the playoffs. But that all starts, my friends, this week. It all starts with the Seattle Seahawks. And is it looking like that kid Drew Lock's going to play? Yes.
Questionable. Geno's questionable, so we don't know.
Whoever it is, Geno, Drew, I don't give a shit. This team needs to step up and kick this team's ass. 11 years or whatever, like Ali said, since we beat this team, that's despicable. I am 25 years old, just like Jack. Well, he's about to be. Just like Tom, because he's old as shit. But I'm going to say 2013 might have been the last time that we beat this team.
2015, or it was 15 years, so whatever that is.
I think they said 11. So,
it's
sorry.
15.
It's the wine talking. It's okay, Dalt. It's the wine.
Yeah, I guess it is.
You can't count past 11.
The point being, however, you need to beat this team. And especially right now. It's now or never. I heard earlier that they're on a losing streak. We're on a losing streak. It's like an unstoppable force meets an immovable object. I don't give a shit. You need to be whatever one is going to win that and figure it out. Whoever's been calling the plays the past 2 weeks or whatever's went wrong, figure it out. The turnovers are obviously a big part. That should be fixed. I think everybody should do a little bit of a ball security drill in practice. That's my opinion, being old school. I would literally make the whole team sit down and do a ball security drill. And I see my homeboy Tom Salucci in the background smiling right now because he knows Lehigh, bunk bed shit. That's what Andy Reid would have done. And I think it would have worked. But Nick Sirianni has a different philosophy. Point being, get it together this week. And my key to success for the Eagles, run the damn ball with DeAndre Swift explicitly. And give him at least 13 takes. If he only gets 20 yards on 13 takes, whatever. I'll give up on it. But if you're not going to give him the ball at least 10 times, you're just wasting his talent, and you might as well trade him and put like a subpar running back in there.
To go off of that, Dalt, the Eagles actually, in the last 3 seasons, are 30-3 when they run the ball 24 plus times.
See?
That's my fun fact. But we're not running.
The guys that held up the side, run the ball. Come on. I just checked before against the Cowboys. The Swift had 11 carries, I think for only 38 yards. But, I mean, that was just come on. Like, we had the best offensive line in football. Like, everybody knows that. Pro Football Focus ranked number 1 O-line. Run the damn ball. If our fucking offense is going to be this vanilla play calling where all we do is like this fake play to AJ Brown like every once in a blue moon, like that's not going to work every time. And I think another big problem with our offense is they're kind of like telling Hurts before the play, okay, look, AJ Brown's going to go deep and you're going to throw it at him whether he catches it or not. And we saw that throughout the game. Like, other guys are open throughout that, and that's definitely an issue. I just want Hurts to, play, see the field. He's a smart quarterback. I want him to see the field, and I don't think he's seeing the field definitely as good this year as he was last year.
Yeah, going back to my MVP thing that I just brought out, if Drew Lock carves up our defense, if he does play, which is probably likely, I'll see you at the doctor's office. I mean, I'm just going to keep it there. Drew Lock hasn't been a great quarterback in the NFL since he started. So, yeah, I'm just going to leave that there.
See you there, buddy.
So, it's going to be the most classic Philly thing ever. You had your streak broken earlier this year of perfection against the Jets. Now this week you can break a record of misery, but the record of misery is just going to keep going. I don't see Brian Johnson changing at all. He's not going to change. So there was a stat this week based off of his offense, and he has caused Jalen Hurts to have the most difficult throws because his expected completion percentage is the lowest in the league based off of plays and spacing called and whatnot. Those fancy analytics players, I'm sure some Cowboys fans would be like, yeah, whatever. I can't do math anyway, past the number 2. But so the point being is he is making these difficult throws, because then the next stat that complements that analytics stat is he also has the greatest amount of above average completion percentage, which is about 4.5 percentage points higher than what he was expected to be able to only make. But he's first in the league in that. So what does that all mean? Those two stats put together. It means he's threading the needle and playing above and beyond every other quarterback in the league. However, Brian Johnson needs to do a better job to space out these guys to help him out. But he seems very resistant to change, very resistant and to try to help Jalen out, maybe throw some play action. We haven't run many RPOs this year, and the RPO has been lackluster compared to last year. And I think part of it is we don't run the damn ball. We don't run the ball at all. We run the ball about 6 times in the first half, and then that's about it. And then if Jalen has thrown 4 or 5 pass plays in a row, occasionally we'll mix in maybe one run play, and you'll get up to 10 for the whole game. Hey, you need to mix it up. If I know it's going to be a pass play every time, I'm only going to rush 3 or 4 because I'll drop everyone else back in coverage and we'll play flag football if we have to. We need to mix it up. I don't see them necessarily doing that. I think it's going to be another loss. It's another pain and misery week, the way that they're going.
All right. I want to try to find the silver lining for the past few weeks.
There is none.
Hear me out.
Tom, you're alive. That's silver lining.
Yes.
There you go.
The Jordan philosophy. Here we go. The old Irish
Flyers.
Catholic. I'm here for it.
The Flyers are back to life.
Tom, pinch your fucking self and remind yourself you're fucking alive right now on this podcast for me. All right? Because here's the silver lining for you, baby. Redemption season. How sexy will that Super Bowl ring be when the 3 teams that we beat on it? It's going to be the Cowboys when they come to the NFC divisional at the link. We beat their ass. I'm going to say like 34-24, but we still beat their ass on paper. Garbage time touchdown at the end. Then we play the 49ers in the NFC chip. Close game, 38-31. Jalen Hurts, walk-off touchdown. And then in the Super Bowl, we go out and we beat the Chiefs with a final score of 30-21. Oh my God. How cool would that Super Bowl ring be with these 3 teams on it? Now we have vengeance out for all 3 of these teams. The Cowboys we want to beat because this year they're annoying ass fans. The 49ers have had it coming for them since last year, talking shit after they got their ass whooped. And the Chiefs, personally, I've wanted that one since the beginning of this year. There's no other team that I want to play in the Super Bowl rather than the Kansas City Chiefs. I want revenge. There's nothing that tastes better than revenge pie.
Patrick Mahomes is just going to whine again.
Joe Flacco and the Browns.
I'm here for it. But, I mean, how do you guys feel? I mean, what would be your guys' thoughts on this Super Bowl ring?
I'm more focused on this next week because we can't get to that top of the mountain without winning these next 4 games. So that would be cool and all, Dalton. You know, I love your beautiful mind. But like, I don't care about that. I care about the next 4 weeks. This is a make or break for our season. The Seahawks are not a bad team. The Giants are playing very well. So we need to win these games, these next 4 games, and then we can talk about it. Okay. But that's just my mindset because, you know, granted, we got through the gauntlet and now we have an easy end of the season. But I just think we need to, take it one step at a time.
Yep. I agree. Definitely one step at a time. Can't think of the Super Bowl. You know, you just got to enjoy the journey and get there. And Dalt, redemption tour. I like that theme. You know who else is in there in this little gauntlet? The Cardinals. Jonathan Gannon, revenge game. We're gonna gut him. That I hope we fucking got Kyler, that little midget.
I'll be at that game. The Cardinals game.
I'll be there too. And I know Jack Jordan is not a fan of that guy, Jonathan Gannon, either. He's hated that guy since last year when he said that he had no scheme on defense. Who the fuck says that?
He was better than Desai.
I think the
Whoa. Who just said that?
That was me. That was.
All right, Matt.
He's not better than Desai. He didn't play any like top 10 quarterbacks last year.
I am going to come to your place in New York and just knock you the fuck out because
there's plenty of room.
with Jonathan.
You can cuddle. It's cold.
With that name, we shouldn't say. He would have not got. He would have not gotten us through that gauntlet like Desai. I mean, our defense has been our heartbeat this whole season.
What?
Compared to our offense, yes, dude.
Garbage,
I mean, our defense has bailed us out in a lot of key moments.
Okay,
I'll give them
they
that.
played like garbage against the 49ers and the Cowboys. The second game of the Cowboys. Not the whole season. You even said on the fucking podcast that defense bailed us out so many times.
They have. I'm not.
So
I don't
now
think
you're
that's
like,
a heartbeat. But what I'm saying, if you look at stats, sacks, we are way down. We are way down. Picks, turnovers, we have 6 this year. 6 turnovers on defense. There's nothing else. We're not. I don't know if that's scheme. I don't know if that's players, but something is not like last year.
They get held the shit out of. I don't know how many times I saw in replay. Wasn't this a great run? And he is getting, and like you see, like Jalen Carter just getting bear hugged from behind. And I think after everybody was complaining that the Eagles get a lot of referee calls, I could not believe how many, like, all of a sudden it was like, let's flip the switch just so we can get people to shut up for 2 seconds. I think that's what the NFL was probably doing.
You think it was
a lot of money in the league?
DraftKings.
Yeah, if anything,
Brian
Johnson's be under fire right now, because we're missing Shane Steichen a lot.
Yeah, we are.
So our defense is a hell of a lot better than it was last year.
I just don't agree.
I have one question for you guys going off of our defense too that I was watching today on the radio. Nolan Smith, where the fuck has he been this year, right? Where has that man been?
Yes, he's not
He's kind of been non-existent. And I've been excited to watch the Rook play. But we're now 13 games into the season, and we've hardly heard anything about it. Is he injured? What's the deal with Nolan Smith? Does anybody know?
I think they just don't. I think there's too much depth on the line.
Well, you got some Philly fans already saying he's a bust.
I don't think he's a bust. I think there's too much. He's behind Sweat. He's behind Graham. He's behind.
Exactly.
I mean, yeah, because Jordan Davis didn't play as much as he did this year compared to last year because, you're walking into a crowded room.
Is it almost like the problem where you have two? Is this showing, like, would you almost rather the Eagles now trade away one of their pass rushers for a secondary player?
No, because they're all about to retire.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
And not only that, but a lot of the players are under contract for rookie contracts. So you can't really – you can trade them away, but –
Yeah, I think since there's a lot of depth on the line, that's why he hasn't playing. We have Fletcher Cox. We have Brandon Graham. We have Jordan Davis. We have Jalen Carter. So I think that's one of the main reasons is there's a lot of seniority there. And I think he's available. I think he's ready to play. He's had a few sacks this season when he played, but I think that's the main reason. And they have said some injuries are kind of reoccurring. So,
see, I said this. I guess when we were going into 49ers week that I wanted to see more of Nolan Smith. Now I get it; they want him to be a pass rusher type player, but he's labeled as that. But why don't you use him as a linebacker and see what he has to offer? Because he played linebacker at college. So why, when you were struggling, when you had fucking Christian Ellis and Nicholas Morrow as your starting fucking linebackers, and then waiting for Nakobe Dean to get healthy, which he's made of glass, and then you're waiting for Shaquille to sign the deal, and then you're waiting for Zach Cunningham to come back. Why don't you use him? Why don't you try to put him in that position? He can play the position. Just see what he has to offer. It's not going to hurt. It's not worse than Christian fucking Ellis. Like, it can't get any worse than that. So I'm just saying, why don't you use him there instead of trying to use him as a pass rusher when you have fucking Hassan Reddick there? It just boggles my mind that I could probably run a better defense than this fucking idiot.
Oh, there it is. I'm not disagreeing with you guys. It's been pretty bad. Like, Matt, aka is when guests come on, I love that they call him Hoss. Like, that's his name. Like Hoss said earlier on the podcast. Shane Steichen, that's the real, miss for me. Because this offense was a night and day difference last year. Which I think hits it perfectly.
Time for everybody's favorite part of the show, 302 Trivia, with your host, Jack Dorden, the mayor of Delaware.
Thank you to TickPick for that sponsorship. Tonight's question we have for tonight is, what Philadelphia Eagle was named the NFL MVP in 1960? A. Chuck Benderek, B. Sonny Jurgensen, C. Mike Ditka, or D. Norm Van Brocklin? And tonight's answer we got for you. Give me a drum roll, please. All right, let's go with the answers. All right, thank you for that. Dalton said Norm. Correct. Matt said, who's A? A's wrong. Ash said Norm. Correct.
Who's the QB?
Decker, who I didn't know your number because I forgot to save it, said Chuck. Nope. And then Sean said Norm. Correct. And then Tommy Boy said Norm. So
Tommy, you definitely use Google, man.
The process of elimination. Chuck Bednarik was when they were winning the Super Bowl. Sonny Jurgensen was also, or not the Super Bowl, NFL championships. Mike Ditka wasn't on. I don't think was on the team in the 60s. So it leaves process of elimination. Who could it be? There is only one answer.
You're definitely using ChatGPT, and they just gave you all of those.
So wait,
I'm sorry
got
that
it
I'm
right,
big brains compared
me,
to the
Tom,
rest
and
of you.
Ash. Is that it? Or Sean too, right? Sean.
And Sean, yeah.
I didn't get it.
All right, I got that written down. But yeah, that's all we got for you guys tonight. And I just want to say a quick.
Can you pull up the leaderboard?
I don't have the leaderboard. I didn't get to it. Sorry.
No,
we'll have to figure that out next week.
I think Tommy Boy has passed Hoss because
I'm down bad.
Toss.
I'm down bad.
I had a two question lead over him.
No, you got
Tommy's keeping score.
Congratulations, ChatGPT.
I'm sorry that I have a big brain and you have smooth brain.
Anyway,
he doesn't insult you. He doesn't say little brain. He says smooth.
Smooth. I'm happy to have a smooth brain.
Anyway, boys and girl who was on later tonight, and Will, appreciate you coming on
earlier not later.
And
one quick announcement too, Jack. Just want to say, guys, if you want to participate in our toy drive, you can drop off a box at one of the locations that we've highlighted on our Instagram. If you're unsure of one, I can message you the one that's closest to you if you DM our Instagram or Facebook. But without further ado, thank you guys for tuning in. And
Decker Locks Parlay. Decker Locks Parlay.
Oh, shit. Yeah, I forgot the Decker Locks Parlay. Go ahead and start breaking it down. I'm going to pull this graphic up right now.
Yes, sir. All right, everybody. We still haven't hit a Luger yet, but it's okay. You got to keep going. All right. I believe it's a 7-legger this week. Oh boy, the 7-leggers always hit. All right, first one. The very putrid Pittsburgh Steelers. We're gonna take them alternate spread. They're plus 2.5, so we got them plus 7.5. Dude, they can't get fucking embarrassed. Well, they could, but they can't get embarrassed that bad. Against the Colts, Mike Tomlin won't let them. I don't care how bad Trubisky is. Next game, I think the Bears can win outright. They're playing the Super Bowl MVP, Joe Flacco, University of Delaware legend, by the way. But I really like the way that the Bears are playing. I'm not going to lie. I thought they were such a shitty team beginning of the year, and they've just really started to flip it around. They shit on my Detroit Lions last week. They're looking a lot better. DJ Moore's playing great. Their defense is playing great. I definitely think the Bears win outright, or they're going to lose in a very close game. All right, I hate taking our buddy Mahomes, but Chiefs are playing the Patriots. They've lost 2 in a row. They have to win. They're going to be pissed. That spread's like 9.5, but and then Dolphins money line against the Jets, coming off a bad loss to the Titans. We saw the true Dolphins, what they're like without Tyreek Hill. That's why I think Tyreek's offense or MVP of the league. It just shows how valuable it is. That offense just vanished when he got hurt. So I definitely think they can beat the Jets. They definitely need to win if they want that 1 seed, because the Ravens have it right now, but the Ravens still have to play the Niners. All right, next one we got the Jags. Speaking of the Ravens, Jags lost 2 in a row, so this is a good spot to get the Jags. I think their normal spread's plus 3.5 at home against the Ravens. Ravens coming off a long overtime win against the Rams. They're going to be, they're pretty ecstatic. I definitely think the Jags have a shot to win outright, but I think plus 6.5 is safe. All right, guys, this is probably the least reliable leg on the parlay these days, the fucking Eagles. We're going to take them alternate spread. They're minus 3.5. We're going to take them plus 3.5 regardless. I think we win this game, but I'm not going to lie. We don't blow out teams, so I think it's going to be close. So this is a safe bet. Eagles heard all the noise this week in the media, heard all of it. I think they're going to come out and win the game with Brian Johnson's very creative 5th grade offense. All right, and then last leg, I couldn't come on the podcast and take the Cowboys, but I was going to take the Cowboys alternate spread, plus 8. It's at the Bills, but the Bills need this game more than the Cowboys right now. The Bills lose, and they're pretty much I'm done with this because this AFC race is insane. I really hope the Bills win. I think they're actually favored against the Cowboys. It's at the Bills. Go Bills Mafia. That's our second favorite fan base here. They were awesome partying with. We're rooting for you, for everybody, every cool Bills fan we met at the cool game, at the tailgate. Come on, guys. This is your chance this weekend to make up with us Eagles fans, man. Beat the Cowgirls for us, please. All right, guys. Thank you. And $100 will turn into $822. Bet responsibly. And I'm not an expert. Be advised.
Thank you, Decker Locks, for bringing us that betting advice this week. Shout out to our friends over on the Sharps app. If you guys haven't, check out Sharps. It's the best place to bet with your friends. And use our code. We'll hit you up for it. DM or Instagram. I believe it's 302D something, but I don't want to be wrong. So like I said, just DM our Instagram or me or Matt, and we will get it to you guys. But I do want to thank everybody for tuning in to an episode of 302 Birds, and I'll kick it to Jackson to do what he does.
Yep. Without further ado, thank you to everyone that was on the show and watching tonight. So without that being said, hey, Josh, it's an outro, not an intro. Hit that motherfucking outro.
Baby. Beat Seattle.
Fuck the Cowboys.